The Xbox One X is the world's most powerful games console, and also the world's most expensive right now at £450. That's 100 more than the PS4 Pro and 250 more than the Xbox One S. So can the One X really justify its price? Does 4K make that much of a difference? And should you buy one? Considering how powerful it is, the console itself is surprisingly small. In the box, you get a wireless controller, power and HDMI cables, as well as the console itself, which has 1 TB of storage. It's best to have it set up horizontally, laying flat rather than stood up, as the cooling vents are on the sides. So I've got the One X hooked up to my 55-inch Samsung QLED TV, which looks awesome. And while you do still get a performance boost with the One X gaming at Full HD, really you want a 4K HDR TV to get the most out of it. And also make sure on your TV you've got UHD Deep Color mode enabled for the Xbox's HDMI input, or you might find HDR isn't supported in the Xbox settings. But don't expect to play anything straight away though, as when you set it up for the first time, there's a few big downloads and updates to install. Plus, if you're downloading digital games, be prepared for a long wait, as game files are huge. Most Xbox One X enhanced games that have 4K textures are around 75 to 100 gigabytes in size. Gears of War 4 is over 100 gigs, it's crazy. Although usually you can start playing the game before they fully download, but it depends on the game. So far I've downloaded about 8 games and basically already filled the 1 TB hard drive. So there's over 130 enhanced games confirmed for the One X, which means they take advantage of the new hardware for better graphics, high resolution, or smoother frame rates. In some cases like Forza Motorsport 7, you get all the bells and whistles, 4K, 60 FPS, HDR, and it does look incredible. But in a lot of games like Middle-earth Shadow of War or Gears of War 4, you have to choose between resolution or performance. It's the same on the PS4 Pro, and it feels a bit frustrating since I tend to prefer performance mode to get a higher frame rate or more graphical effects, but then it's only at 1080p, I don't get 4K. Whereas I could go for the crisper 4K resolution, but only at 30 frames per second, or with some visual options turned off. For me, this really sums up this generation of consoles, which can technically support 4K gaming, and in a lot of cases it does look awesome. But sometimes it's upscaled 4K, a lot of the time you have to forego 4K to get better frame rates, and not all the games take advantage of the hardware to the same extent. The One X just feels a bit like a halfway house before the Xbox 2 or PS5 come out in a couple of years. But that doesn't mean the Xbox One X isn't still a decent step up. In 4K with HDR, games look stunning. 4K textures make games like Assassin's Creed Origins look a lot sharper and more detailed. In Forza 7, not only is it 4K and 60 FPS, but the HDR effects like the bright sunlight are awesome. And while it's true the Xbox One S also supports HDR, combined with the game's 4K rendering and extra visual effects, it makes it look even better. And you can record it. The built-in game DVR can capture 4K 60 and HDR, so actually, if you're watching this review on a 4K high dynamic range TV or phone, you'll see the gameplay in all its glory. So with all of its 6 teraflops of computing performance compared to the PS4 Pro's 4, the One X is technically the world's most powerful games console right now. And as you'd expect for the specs and the price, games look great, but it is a lot of money. And given there are some great Xbox One S bundles for around £200, which is less than half the price of the One X, well, I think that's going to be better value for money, because I wouldn't say games look twice as good on the One X. But it is definitely an upgrade, and if you want the best graphics and the best performance, I'd highly recommend it. But I think for most people, the One S or PS4 is still a better option. They're a lot cheaper, they still support HDR, and they get all the same games. There aren't any exclusive One X or Pro games at the moment. But that's what it comes down to, really. If you want the best, and you do have a fancy 4K HDR TV to really show it off, you're not going to be disappointed with the Xbox One X. And as an entertainment hub in your living room, I think it works really well too. It looks good, it's got a UHD Blu-ray player built in, which is nice to have, although I don't really find myself wanting to buy Ultra HD movies that often. Normally though, I just stream everything, but it does also have all the popular streaming and catch-up services, as well as Dolby Atmos support for if you've got a compatible speaker or soundbar. There's even a separate HDMI input if you want to connect up your TV set-top box. But between this and the PS4 Pro, well, I'm not Digital Foundry, and the difference between 58 and 60 FPS or how crisp a texture is when magnified 5 times doesn't really bother me. It's the exclusive games, the price, and which one my friends play on, which is more important. And right now, for me, that probably means I go with the PS4 Pro, but it's going to be different for everyone, and I'm actually really lucky to have both, so I can play all the games. So I've put links to the Xbox and this TV if you're interested in the description below. Let me know what you think of the One X and whether you'd buy one in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Help me get to 200k, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.